play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn, we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It is that time again with the turtleneck back for you on this Tuesday right here on SportsGrid. A lot of people are like, whoa, Turtleneck Monday. I was like, I'm picking up. I'm reading between the lines and want the turtleneck on a Tuesday, so we got it for you right here on Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you for the next 2 hours as we have plenty to get to. I mean, if you're looking for some NBA to bet on, tonight's slate has some very interesting spots. And the early narrative game of the year, I guess not that early, right? I mean, it's almost March, with Luka Doncic playing against the Dallas Mavericks. The spot plus how well Luka played against Denver has greatly shifted the numbers for Luka Doncic, who now finds himself with a 30.5-point prop. Much different than those 25.5s that we were seeing before the breakout against the Nuggets. In the college basketball world, yesterday we saw a huge result for the Houston Cougars as they are steadily climbing towards that inevitable 1 seed that they very much so deserve. Tonight, though, another inevitable 1 seed in action, the Duke Blue Devils laying well over 3 touchdowns on the road, 23.5 against the awful Miami Hurricanes. We will also see some SEC battles with Tennessee laying double digits on the road, Missouri laying double digits at home, and then a ranked battle between Alabama and Mississippi State. We will, of course, sneak over to the NHL slate. It is packed on a Tuesday. Yesterday, we saw a low-scoring win for Winnipeg. We saw a high-scoring win for the other home team. That would be the LA Kings. Tonight, some eyes, I'm sure, on Edmonton and Tampa Bay. Can the Oilers, for the first time since the Four Nations tournament, get themselves in the win column? If not that, can they maybe not give up 100 goals in the game? Only time will tell. The NFL news bubbling. Matthew Stafford. I don't think he's going to be with the Rams next season. I think the evidence is mounting. I think every single indication is starting to point towards his time with the LA Rams being over. We'll expand on that in just a little bit. Loaded crew tonight. We'll see Coach James Young, Joe Madden, Mike Blewett, Dave Sharapan. So you sit tight. You'll be covered here on tonight's Game Time decisions. But let's get into some of the action. We'll start in the NBA. Give me the Magic. I had them at +8. I want to look around here, see if any of those are still remaining. And yes, they are. So get this team at +8 tonight. I like this spot for Orlando here. NBA sides have been good since we have come out of the All-Star break, and I think this will be no exception. The Magic, out of the break, lost a tight one at home to Memphis, but really improved both sides of the basketball against Washington with a 20-point home victory. I want to put this Cleveland team to the test here. Yes, they are playing great basketball, but they started out the All-Star break, a double up for them at home. You look at their recent road opponents, Brooklyn, Toronto, Washington, not really playing the league's best. I think this looks different here tonight against Orlando, pushed for full 4 quarters, even maybe perhaps Orlando pulls off the upset. Buy low spot for me in the New Orleans-San Antonio Spurs game on this total, 239.5. Going to play that towards the over. These teams just played 2 days ago. Same building, same teams, total 242.5. Bang under. Only 110 points. Moving at 3 points then? I don't agree. The 3-point shooting in the game was atrocious, including a San Antonio performance 15 for 51. Yikes. Starting backcourt shot 3 for 20 from beyond the arc. That bounces back tonight. Producer play, they're talking about this De'Aaron Fox in the back, and I'm liking what they're putting down. Lakers, Mavericks, we had to get involved. For me, and for any of you who have betting Luka Doncic props since he's shown up in L.A., kind of impossible to get to those numbers tonight. So juiced, so different. 31.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, under 3-1 for the triple-double. I don't think he's the triple-double look tonight. I think that would be LeBron James. Clear and obvious bounce-back spot for the assists if you'd like to settle up there. I'm going to bring the rebounds into the fold. Give me LeBron for a double-double at -105. Give me LeBron James for a triple-double at 5-1 for a little bit of sprinkle if you'd want. I did play an alt 19.5 rebounds plus assist number at +270, as I think he is in line for perhaps a triple-double. I think it's a double dimes night for the King, and that likely carries the workload through any and all numbers tonight for LeBron in that category. But the LeBron James double-double is how I'm looking to play this one here. If you made me lean on the side, I would lean towards Dallas. I think they will be as up for this as the Lakers. And I think the Lakers are far more likely to have a bit of a lapse. Maybe they put a little too much on Luka's plate with the moment, the narrative, the opponent, and not everybody else is as locked in, hoping that, Luka's going to carry this here for us the whole way. I don't hate Luka Doncic under 8.5 first quarter points. I don't hate it. Or, perhaps the Lakers as a whole just off of that Denver victory, not ready to answer the bell a second game in a row. Not playing it, but if you made me bet aside, I would prefer the points with Dallas. College card, let's get to it. We do have Coach James Young right around the corner. I'll take Cooper Flagg, 2+3s, +105 price there. Broke this game down on Moneyline with our guy Donnie. Right side, Duke tonight going up against this Miami defense that is SWAC level. Again, shout out the Delta Devils. Got a cover last night. And they give up a ton of three-point shots. Cooper Flagg in a bounce-back spot from beyond the arc. Only took one in the game at the Garden against Illinois. Look for the volume to increase. And with the opponent, look for him to cash in on that volume at a plus price. Against the grain play here, I'll take the Baylor Bears catching 2.5 points at Cincinnati. Baylor's not great. They are better, though, than the Bearcats here. I understand spot. They've lost 2 in a row, the Baylor Bears. I think that they come out hot in the first quarter, and I think there's enough of an offensive gap here where they can distance themselves from Cincinnati the entire way. I'll take the Bears plus the 2.5 on the road in Big 12 play. I'll take another dog in Big 12 play, but on the home floor catching double digits, that's the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I'll take the 10.5 tonight against Iowa State. I'm sure many will look to lay it with the Cyclones, suggesting that off of a loss, they'll be rip-roaring, ready to go. This team has only 5 losses on the year. And that includes a 3-game losing streak. I don't love this notion that, off of a loss, they must bounce back. Not necessarily how things go. If you look prior, right now when they're coming off of a loss, I think they sit 2-2 on the season ATS. So I'm glad to take the 10.5 points for an Oklahoma State team who's in a far more bounce-back, step-up spot. Their most recent performance was a 32-point loss at Kansas. I think they're going to step up here at home and hang with the Cyclones. And then lastly, going to give the Tigers a shot here. LSU, shout out Lacey Joe, will take over the team total of 63.5. Look, the Vols defense is excellent, and we know that. But LSU is coming off a very disappointing home effort against the Florida Gators, where offensively they just didn't have it going, especially from beyond the arc. You get some of that 3-point positive regression to come in line, and all of a sudden this game could look a little bit different here. And while I know Florida plays at a much different pace, that's a very good defense that LSU just ran up against there. I think it could look a little bit better tonight on a much lower ask that we're seeing against Tennessee. We will continue to break down the NBA and the college basketball boards with Coach James Young, who is stopping by next right here. It's Game Time Decisions.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back right here on Game Time Decisions. Coach James Young will check in momentarily. Allow me just to reset my card for tonight, college basketball-wise. We're going to go Cooper Flagg, 2+ made threes at plus 105. The Baylor Bears catching 2.5 against Cincinnati. The Oklahoma State Cowboys catching 10.5 against Iowa State. And then the LSU team total over 63.5. For the NBA bettors tonight, it's going to be Magic plus 8. Pelican Spurs over 239.5, and then that LeBron James double. Coach James Young, I believe you're here, ready, ripping, roaring. JY, how we feeling? It's a loaded NBA and college slate on this Tuesday night.
Why you look bigger than me? Let me.
Why not, JY? Listen, I'm a big dude. Here's the thing: you're tall, but I'm a big dude. Let's be. We know that.
Hey, listen, loaded night. I want to go right away to this, Kevin. I don't even know what the odds are. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. But don't you sense Luka's about to go ham on Dallas tonight? Like ham? Like, if you think about this, they're 19th Dallas allowed, and I think it's rebounds per game, assists per game, point guards. 21st and rebounds allowed per game, point guards. I could see, honestly, LeBron being like, yo, let's embarrass these fools tonight. Luka go walk around and get a triple-double. You're going double-double LeBron? I'm going triple-double with Luka tonight. I think it's going to be an unbelievable performance.
All right, so JY dialed in on Luka Doncic tonight in that big battle between the Lakers and the Mavericks. Tell me, JY, where are you going to go elsewise on this NBA Tuesday slate?
Well, there's a lot of action tonight in the NBA that it's really got to settle it down. Number one, I'm going to go with Cleveland minus 7.5. Now, I know, both teams are playing well, but to me, Cleveland's playing especially with Oklahoma City lost last night, which is stunning in itself. They're playing as good as anybody they are right now. So I'm going to lay the points with Cleveland at Orlando tonight. I think could be 7.5, 8, depending on where you look. Play number two. I'm going to go with the Rockets minus 3.5 at home versus the Bucks. Both teams pretty good against the spread, but remember the last time, Kevin, they played, Houston was on the second leg of a back-to-back and lost a nail-biter. I believe it was by 1 when they had the rest advantage. And the last time Houston played, if you remember, we were on air together, and they looked awful in the last quarter and a half versus Utah. A lot of rest. They come out and get the cover. Lastly, Spurs +3. Why? Because the last game they played against the Pelicans a couple of days ago, they lost by 25, I think it was. Probably check time for a San Antonio Spurs team. I know they're not going to make the playoffs because of the Wemby injury, but I like them tonight. Give me the Spurs +3.
Yeah, the San Antonio Spurs faithful right now are dreaming of a world where they have the first and second overall selections somehow, their own pick, the Hawks pick. I've seen some Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, 1-2 prayers.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is totally bizarre, if I'm honest. The world where, I'll say this, if they get Cooper Flagg, that would be outrageous. People will also cry bloody murder. Can I ask you one quickly? Good, JY, I know it's not on the card for you tonight, but the Charlotte Hornets beat the Lakers out of the break, and someone told them that the season ended, evidently, following that moment. They lost by 14 at Denver, and that might as well have been the best performance of their season. They've lost the last two games, 141-88 and 130-88. They're catching 17.5 tonight. Are we at a point now where Charlotte is just beyond? LaMelo's not playing. I mean, what a disastrous run this team is on now.
And here's the thing. I can't sit there and take the points or go the other way. Like, it's utterly scary to me. But one thing they're not doing, they ain't playing no damn defense. I would take Golden State's points over. If you can get it in the first half, just first half points over for Golden State, they may hang 70 on them tonight. It's bad. And it's funny because, like, they came out the break with a good win. You figure momentum. I mean, they must be partying out, and West Side is the best side because they're on the worst side the way they've been playing the last couple of days.
Yeah, that's a fair point there. JY, we are going to be pressed for time a little bit, so I'm going to ask you to run through your college card tonight here. Loaded slate on this Tuesday. Who do you like?
Yeah, so I'm going to go quickly with VCU minus 15.5 at the Robins Center against Richmond. Simply put, people notice this is RBA. This is a big rivalry. Last game, they won by 40. Chris Mooney may be on his way out. This is a nice way for VCU to send them out, minus 15.5. Next, I'm going Florida, minus 6.5. Listen, these next teams, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, I'm all taking minus points. Why? Kevin, I think they're all competing for a 1 seed. So they got to win, and they got to win impressively because they don't want to be in a bracket where I guess that 2 seed could be with Duke. You don't want to be on that line. You'd rather be out there in the West with that last 1 seed. So I'm going with Florida minus 6.5, Alabama minus 8.5, Tennessee minus 10.5. SEC games, I'm taking the favorites.
Man, that SEC, so impressive, but I am still so fascinated to try and figure out how these brackets are going to break. And you look at right now for a lot of these projections, 3 1 seeds from the SEC. I strongly believe that will not hold, and you will see Houston end up on the 1 line. And I know my guy JY agrees. A reminder as well, me, Coach Lisi, this Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon, betting above the rim, just like you need for a great college slate on Saturday. Coach, you're the best. Appreciate it. As always, we're going to get to Sports Million Pick'em next. Keep it right here on SportsGrid.
Slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scoverin, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back with you right here on SportsGrid. It is a busy Tuesday night, no doubt about it. Let's take a look, though, at some of the options you can find over on Sports Million Pick'em tonight.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. It's time to jump into our Sports Millions pick'ems. Now, Tom, I need a major bounce back. The NBA did not treat me well yesterday. I had the Heat game coming out versus the Atlanta Hawks, and I tell you, neither of those teams were able to get much done out on the court. That had a total of 231. We hit under 190, and the players that I circled, Trae Young for his threes, and Bam, didn't even come close to be able to get to those marks. So let's look at the NHL today.
Yeah, it wasn't the best day in the NBA for me either. We saw Claxton get in a bit of foul trouble. It was a crazy day across the NBA overall. We saw multiple teams getting blown out by 30, 40 points, massive comeback by the Timberwolves, what have you. Let's turn to the NHL tonight. I have my eyes circled on the Stars visiting the Blue Jackets. Let's start with the Stars. Let's go to Wyatt Johnston, higher than 2.5 shots on goal. He's been over this mark in 8 out of his last 10 games. He's really emerged over the past 2 seasons for the Stars as one of their top young talents. He's scoring goals, obviously continuing that pressure on offense just in terms of the shots on goal, which we like to see. I'm not worried about the Blue Jackets defense. They've always been giving up a ton of shots. Let's turn to the Blue Jackets side of things so we can add in this multiplier. Zach Werenski for higher than half an assist, so we just need that 1 assist for him. He leads the team in points. He leads the team in assists with 44 in 56 games. He's having a Norris caliber season. If it wasn't for Cale Makar, I really do think that Zach Werenski would be one of the finalists, or really should still be one of the finalists. But I'm expecting some good points. Also important to note that the Blue Jackets lead the league when it comes to goals scored in home games, up at 3.96. And with Werenski on that top power play, he'd surely be involved tonight. So Werenski higher than half assist, Wyatt Johnston higher than 2.5 shots on goal. What do you got?
I think you're going a great way with that matchup. I'm going to look at the matchup between the Calgary Flames and the Washington Capitals. Now, we all know the Washington Capitals have been rolling hot. Over the weekend, they were able to rack up those goals out there on the ice. And I do think, you look here at John Carlson, we're getting him higher than a half a point, and that's exactly where I have to go in this matchup for the Washington Capitals. Looking at him, he's rolling in his last 8 games. He's been able to put a point up on the board. In the last game, he did have 2 points versus Edmonton. Now, all his points have been coming the way of assists, and I do think that is how he earns that point tonight. He's on that top defensive pairing out there on the ice, and versus Calgary, the last time these teams matched up back in January, he was able to get that point on the board. Now, because I want to take advantage of the multiplier as well, Tom, 3-time multiplier here, adding in Jonathan Huberdeau for the Calgary Flames for that point. Now, Jonathan Huberdeau has been great out there on the road this season. The last time he faced Washington, though, the Capitals held him off the board. I'm expecting that to change. 56 games for him under his belt this season, 21 goals and 21 assists, so total 42 points. We're looking at him rolling in here with the last 5 games being able to get that point on the board. I think his point comes the way of a goal tonight, but putting them together just for their points. That's Jonathan Huberdeau of the Calgary Flames and John Carlson of the Washington Capitals. You're getting a 3-time multiplier, Tom.
Certainly a nice bounce-back season for Huberdeau overall. We have NHL today. We'll be back to NBA tomorrow.
Okay, let's get a sweep tonight. Tom, you guys all the best in all of your Sports Millions pick'ems.
All right, let's get right to it, man. Let's look at some of the other options that you can once again find over on Sports Million Pick'em.
Enjoy Sports Millions pick'ems, but hate making the picks yourself? Well, Sports Millions has you covered. Head on over and play Sports Millions Blitz'em right now and let the computer do the work. Go to sportsmillions.com/blitz'em to be able to win big prizes without having to make a single pick yourself. That's sportsmillions.com/blitz'em.
All right, great stuff again that you can find over on Sports Million Pick'em. And if you are so inclined, behind the scenes, hearing a lot about Kevin Durant, you can go higher 26.5 points. De'Aaron Fox, higher 23.5 points. Good number. Good number tonight on De'Aaron Fox. Don't be scared of it, folks. Big game. Big game. That we have there. You also have college basketball options tonight. Baylor, Cincinnati. Jizzle James is in the mix. Again, it is a great night, and we're involved in a big way. Let's take a quick break. We'll come on back, and we'll go through the card once more, as well as the latest we're hearing within the National Football League. That's next for you on Game Time Decisions.
drumbeat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scoverin, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're live to you right here, and it is game time decisions. Plenty for us to make. Man, I really want to talk about some of the stuff that we've got going on in the NFL. So what I'm going to do is just reset this card for you, for those just tuning in with us. We're going to get into the hockey slate with Joe Madden coming up here, too. Great slate. So make sure you do stay dialed in. Magic catching 8. Pels Spurs over the 239.5. LeBron double-double tonight in the huge game between the Lakers and the Mavericks. College card, Cooper Flag, 2+ made threes. Baylor catching 2.5. Oklahoma State plus 10.5. And give me LSU's team total over 63.5. What is going on in the National Football League? Well, folks, what is going on is not some I told you so, but just some I'm getting real confident, I guess. And it feels as if some of these dots are lining up quite nicely. You know, we actually had myself, Donnie, and Joe one final pro football today, and as we were looking ahead, some of the Stafford rumors were starting to bubble, and I was like, man, let me tell you, Aaron Rodgers better hope that happens, because it's going to work out perfectly for him to swoop into L.A. I don't think the Rams are clearly looking to cut costs at the quarterback position, and Rodgers, I think, will fall all over himself for that job to play with McVay, Nakua. There's already an idea he'll bring Devontae Adams with him, because we've now seen Pat Leonard, who is a very plugged-in New York sports reporter, I actually believe joined us here on SportsGrid out in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, and I absolutely believe that. It lines up. But we have to just kind of pull back to the Stafford situation. And I saw today a conversation that was had from it was Diana Rossini and Chase Daniel, I guess, they on their podcast, and they were sending out the clip. And they were talking through the Stafford situation, and Rossini suggested $40 million annually for Stafford, and it was followed up with that seems fair, doesn't it? Rossini's an excellent reporter, incredibly plugged in. I think the only way you could think that $40 million annually for Matt Stafford is fair is if some of the people you're talking to are kind of telling you that that is fair, right? Kind of, I'm not saying that in any way she's doing their bidding, right? I just think that it is more likely she's talking to the Rams front office. Again, all of the reporters get their information from somewhere, and I think that they are kind of championing the idea that Stafford at $40 million annually is fair. Which to me is the takeaway. Again, is not, here's where the report's coming from. It's, I think, insight into how the Rams feel, and I think they're completely off base. And I think the relationship is done. So public, so far apart clearly. Stafford's time in LA, to me, is over. And I think the Giants are legitimately in the race. I do. But I think the Vegas Raiders will be as well. When we look at NFL cap space for this upcoming season, the Raiders are one of the top teams, I think only behind the New England Patriots. And I do not think the Raiders are interested in being bad. You out there might believe, come on, what kind of winning is he going to do with Vegas? How many situations are on the board for Stafford where people will believe his winning ceiling is higher than the LA Rams? Being realistic. Or where the consensus would be. I think anyone could feel different individually, but a consensus opinion of, okay, that's an upgrade, that's better. I'm not sure it really exists. The Rams won a division. The Rams won a playoff game. If you want, you could sell yourself on Minnesota. You could sell yourself on Pittsburgh. That's probably where it stops. But I think Stafford is looking to cash in on a considerable payday and go somewhere where he feels more valued. And again, the value just kind of comes down to the contract. Now, I'm sure he'd also like to find a place where he will be able to, settle in family-wise, right? That seems to be a part of this reporting and conversation. We've heard as much from Peter Schrager of NFL Network. On the record, talk about the Kelly and the 4 kids. That's what we've heard. So we know that that's relevant, and that seems fair to suggest for the New York Giants, but I think it's more than fair to suggest about the Vegas Raiders, who have Tom Brady running shop up top, who have Pete Carroll now as their head coach. And Vegas will be able to, I think, make the move for Stafford without giving up the 6th overall selection. And I think that they'll be able to pay Stafford and then some other moves they'll be able to make. And if you are the Raiders and you are not interested in a full, hard reset, and I don't think any of their moves suggest they are. If we all of a sudden get a Max Crosby breaking, he's, traded to Buffalo, Detroit. Oh, that's different. That'll change my tune, right? But I don't think then Vegas is looking to be bad. So how do you try and close the gap when the 3 teams above you all made the postseason? Denver, LA, and of course the Kansas City Chiefs. You got to address the quarterback position. And there will be some who believe that them bringing in Matthew Stafford give them the 2nd best quarterback in the division. It won't be consensus, right? They're not going to acquire a quarterback that people believe is better than Pat Mahomes. But man, Stafford's a needle mover. He really is. And that to me feels on the board now. And these are things that all will have a ripple effect within the NFL draft. And I talked about this yesterday, and we're starting to see it more and more. We are starting to get NFL futures around the draft popping up with more options. We are now seeing some spots of where will Travis Hunter land? Where will Ashton Genty land? Cowboys the favorite. Vegas Raiders second option. I think it's on the board. I think it's on the board for the Vegas Raiders. which quarterback will be selected first. We even saw a market, and this is a fascinating one. Who will draft first? The Titans are the favorite at minus 280. Not a runaway favorite. Not a runaway favorite. Not minus 1,000. For a team who everyone believes should be looking quarterback, that's a pretty short number. And they're the Vegas Raiders with the second best odds. Pretty interesting. You know, today Adam Schefter was talking on, I believe, his podcast or a podcast, nevertheless, and was asked, what is the thing you feel most confident about at this moment around the NFL draft? And it was the Browns will draft quarterback. And the precursor to that was and, you know, I don't know if it was intentional, but if/when the Titans trade the pick. If you'll allow me some dot connecting. In the same breath, we've now said the Titans will trade the pick and the Browns will draft quarterback. That sounds like a bit of a win for Tennessee, that now they can tell anyone who calls, hey, look, Cleveland's clearly going QB. I don't agree with Schefter as much that it makes all the sense in the world for quarterback to be drafted by Cleveland. If that's where they're looking, then the Titans certainly have more ammo. We'll get back to the NHL board next year on SportsGrid.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I mean, it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. We are live right here on this Tuesday night, and we have a loaded NHL slate, so there should be no surprise. We're talking it right here on Game Time Decisions. To help us do that, it is Joe Madden. Joe, how are we feeling? NHL fully back in the rhythm off of that Four Nations tournament just a week ago.
Yeah, feeling really good this weekend. Definitely did not disappoint. We did see defenses and goaltending a step behind those offenses as they came out flying. We saw tons of first periods over 1.5 and both teams scoring. And then, of course, we saw Ovechkin with that hat trick on Sunday. It was a beautiful weekend. 2 games yesterday, and the Kings definitely did not disappoint with the win over Vegas, but a loaded slate out there today. So excited to get into it, Kevin.
Yeah, and we'll get right into it in Boston, where the Bruins are a dog going up against the Toronto Maple Leafs here tonight. Are you seeing any value in this one?
Yeah, I absolutely am. Looking at the home dog here in the Boston Bruins, I think they have every ability to pull off the win. Now, Toronto's coming off that win versus the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago, which that was a feat in itself. And now to face another original 6 member here, I do think it's a lot for the Toronto Maple Leafs to be able to pull off. I'm looking for Boston to be able to get it done. The Leafs have only won 2 of the last 9 in Boston and have struggled overall versus the Boston Bruins, going 5-12 in the last 17 meetings. So I'm looking for Boston to come alive in this one. I do think looking at Brad Marchand to come out nice and strong, and Morgan Geekie would be the 2 players at circle for Boston. On the other side, Austin Matthews is going to be hungry to find the back of the net tonight after overtime in the Four Nations battle, trying so hard on Binghamton, not being able to do so. So back here in Boston, I do think Matthews finally gets something done, but it's Boston all day long for me.
I'm curious, Joe, and maybe it's died down a little bit, but there was a stretch where Boston, seemingly there could have been some internal fighting. It's, maybe the break is good for them. The first loss at home, Anaheim, tough. Does Boston feel like a stay-away team primarily for you in the second half of this season?
It's a hard team to bet. They have all the talent, but Kevin, you're right. There's something going on where the connect is not coming out of this team. They have the playmakers, they have the goaltending, and Swayman hasn't been as strong as we expected, right? They traded away Allmark, kept Swayman, and he got paid, and we just haven't seen the ability out of him to stand on his head every single given night. I think he liked and played better as the second goalie in Boston, but he needs to step up. He needs to get things turning back around, but they are a hard team to back, especially as a favorite. At this price here, where you're getting them with that plus money at home, I think it's a great opportunity to look for Boston to step up.
Yeah, all right, so let's continue then to go through tonight's slate here, Joe. And we have Buffalo and Anaheim, with Buffalo a pretty decent favorite in this game, some 6.5 totals as well. Where are you trying to find the value?
Okay, so looking at this line, the Buffalo Sabres do not deserve to be such a big favorite. So this really is a play here on the Anaheim Ducks. You've got to look at this team in their last 5 games out there. 3 of them have gone to overtime for one. They've won, and they've lost one of those overtimes. They had a shootout win versus the Kings. They've had an overtime win. And in those last 5 games, they've either won or they've lost it by 1 goal. So looking at the Ducks, you could take them on the puck line plus 1.5. You're going to have to lay the juice there. But I do think it's worth playing the number and looking for the Ducks to get the straight out win. This should be a coin flip game. Maybe minus 115 here for the Sabres and plus 105 for the Ducks would be the price I would have put this at, or a straight minus 110. You can't trust the Sabres to get the big win here. Now it is looking like it will be Dostal in net and not John Gibson. So that is great for the Ducks. I'm going to look first period over 1.5 goals and both teams to score as well at plus 168. But otherwise, it's the Ducks straight up on the money line. They can pull it off. Plus 158 for the Ducks on the money line. So it's going to be a great one. Now, Zegras is out of the lineup for that hit in that Calgary matchup, but look for Leo Carlson to continue to roll hot. And then on the other side for the Sabres, they're going to get 1 goal. Tags Thompson has been really feeling just defeated after not getting part of the Four Nations, so he's come out with a vengeance.
Yeah, certainly so, Joe. Tonight, the biggest road favorite on the card, no surprise, it's the Carolina Hurricanes going up against Montreal in this spot. Justified number on Carolina?
You know what? Really now, with Frederik Andersen in goal, I can understand why the books have put it at this price. But you look at Carolina and you look at their inconsistencies on the road this season, and it's not a price I want to back them here, either money line or puck line, laying the 1.5. Carolina overall on the road has gone 12, 14, and 3 on the season. You look at Montreal here, they've been stronger at home than they have been out there on the road. You're getting great plus money on them. I do think they will be able to find Frederik Andersen's goal tonight. I'm going to take a chance on the Montreal Canadiens over 2.5 goals at minus 108. I also think it's worth looking at them first period money line here at plus 140. You know there's playmakers on this team. This team never gives up. Carolina might pull out and get the win at the end of the day, but I don't want anything to do with laying the juice that you have to lay on Carolina.
All right, so let's continue then, Joe, to get through this slate. We're going to have Joe with us up until the top of the hour, so plenty of time to go through a usual loaded Tuesday night NHL slate here. Battle of Pennsylvania, that's Philadelphia, and it is Pittsburgh. Slight favorite for Philly at home. Total in this one checks in 5.5.
Yeah, interesting matchup here between these two teams, especially when you look at the inability for the Pittsburgh Penguins to just keep that puck out of the back of their net. I do think they struggle again here. We know the Flyers were so hot on Saturday versus the Edmonton Oilers. Owen Tippett coming out in that second period, just straight on fire. I'm looking for both of these teams to come out solid, though. You know, Sidney Crosby has a bee in his bonnet with everything that is happening with this team. He really wants to make a push. They're not going to get there, though. Sitting 8th in the Metro. I really hope they trade him. I just don't see it happening, though. I do think he wants to stay in Pittsburgh, but look here for Sid to score another goal at plus 165. I think you look at Mishkov on the other side, the rookie for the Philadelphia Flyers, to get his 40th point tonight, 17 goals and 22 assists on the season. But again, first period, over 1.5 goals, minus 110, and both teams to score in the first period coming in at plus 190. You can't trust defense and goaltending on both sides.
All right, that is a great look there. Again, we're going to have Joe with us here until the top of the hour. Go through this entire NHL slate. A lot of good spots to get to, including New York, Isles, and Rangers. Can the Rangers find any momentum here and make a push for the postseason? We know that postseason number right now to make plus 122 means not all hope is lost, but they got to start to stack results here. Slight road favorite tonight. We'll ask Joe about that game and plenty more. It's a quick break, and we're back with you here on SportsGrid.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Back to right here on SportsGrid Game Time Decisions. We are with Joe Madden. Joe, let's continue to fly through the NHL slate tonight. Top of the hour, we're going to talk to Mike Blewett around everything going on in the National Football League. We will reset the NBA and college cards for you as well. What about this battle between the Rangers and the Islanders here? Rangers a slight favorite.
Yeah, interesting one, right? Because you've got Igor Shesterkin, and it looks like he needs a bounce back from that last game versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. But when you look at those 3 goals he allowed, his defense gave him no support. There was 40 shots on his net. So he still needs to come out really solid in this one. As the Isles, we know this team has weak special teams, but they've been playing better as of late. Now Sorokin in net for them, and he's been solid at home. But that last game versus Dallas, he allowed 4 goals on 29 shots on goal. I'm expecting both of these goaltenders to have average days out there. I think we can see a couple more goals than expected in this one. I will take the over 5.5, and that's been the trend between these two as they get chippy out there on the ice, and we do see those players converting on the power play. I expect the Rangers to definitely convert on that power play tonight. A couple of players you can look at for their points that are coming up to milestones. Panarin for point number 60 tonight, and Mika Zibanejad for point number 40. I'm going to parlay those both together. That's coming in at plus 113 parlayed for the point. Now, if you want to go for the goals, I don't blame you. I'd look at Panarin for the goal and Mika Zibanejad for the assist if you want to go that way. And I don't think you can deny Adam Fox or JT Miller. So I think you can play around with that. On the other side for the Isles, Bo Horvat up for goal number 20 tonight. So he's got 41 points on the season, 19 goals and 22 assists. So I love him to come out nice and strong and find the back of Igor Shesterkin's net tonight, Kevin.
Joe, what do we do with this Edmonton game here against Tampa Bay? Numbers moving around a little bit. It's around pick'em. Lightning maybe will close as a slight favorite in this one. Total, though, 6.5 with plenty of juice towards the over.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one to be a 4-3 overtime, a style win for one of these teams. And I really do think it comes down to a coin flip. Edmonton looked terrible this weekend in their losses. And I do think defense needs to tighten up, but it's going to be hard here versus the Tampa Bay Lightning with last change at home. I'm looking for Tampa to really push them in this one to go to overtime. Now, we know Edmonton loves to get up in those first periods, but so does the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I'm expecting an explosive first period, probably the lockdown in the second, and then those goals coming in again on the third. Now, if you look at players again with milestones tonight, Zach Hyman for goal number 20 tonight's coming in at plus 185, and Braden Point for the point. Now he's going for point number 60 tonight. It's too juicy for the straight up point, but you look here at how strong the power play is for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Take him for the power play point tonight. I think it's coming in at plus 240. Definitely worth some money on that power play point for Braden Point.
Joe, what about a late night showing here from Connor Bedard? He was really in an excellent groove going back to, around Christmas time, really. Slow start for him, though, post-break. Hasn't put a point up yet. How do you feel it looks tonight going against Utah?
He's got to come out and get a point on the board tonight. You look at this matchup, and it's another line that makes no sense. How are the Chicago Blackhawks such a big dog here on the road? I know this team has been struggling to score, but you look at Utah, and you look at their lack of ability to get these wins at home, and there's no way that I would be touching Utah on the puck line or straight up on that money line, even in a parlay. I think they're going to bust a lot of parlays tonight because I think Chicago has every ability to come out here and really dig deep. Now, they might go down in the first period, so you might be able to come back in on them at an even better price on the money line, but this team never gives up. You've got Teravainen and Connor Bedard, I think, and Tyler Bertuzzi, and I think all of them really dig deep in this game and can pull off that win. So I got the Chicago Blackhawks early this morning at plus 210. That line's only gone up, so you're going to get even better value. But you look at that game versus the Leafs in their last game, they went up to start that one and let it go. So if you want to look at them to come out to start, it'll be a hard one there with Utah, but they could pull that off as well.
And to give people an idea, before the break, he had a 22-game run from the 21st of December again until the break. In that run, 22 games, 23 points, and only 3 times finished without a point in a game. Minus 140 for a point tonight might seem expensive. I'm going to invoke the comparison that might sound like a lot, but if Connor McDavid was minus 140 for a point, you'd have to get involved. Connor Bedard's supposed to be that guy. Perhaps tonight we see him bounce back here against Utah. Joe, appreciate it as always. Enjoy this loaded NHL slate.
Thank you. I'm going to go be glued to my TV, Kevin. You enjoy it as well, and all the best in all your bets, everyone.
All right, fantastic stuff there from Joe Madden. Up next, we will reset that card tonight in the college basketball and NBA landscape, as well as talk to Mike Blewett right here on SportsGrid.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
You know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. What do you say, folks? We're in the mix here. Cooper Flag, 2+ made threes. Baylor Bears counting 2.5. What time does this Magic game start? Whoa, it's Magic. Catch at 8, 7:30. We're going to be in the mix against the Cavs. But we are in the mix right now with Mike Blewett. What better? Last time Mike and I talked, the real takeaway was, he knows where I'm going with this. BC Eagles. I mean, they hold La Tech at 36. Not enough people talked about it, Mike. We're not going to make that mistake.
It's a streak, Kev. You win a couple of I mean, it's not technically not in a row. You win 2 out of 3 ACC games when you're at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah.
It's sort of a streak.
Surging.
So, yeah, we are surging late. Trying to qualify for the ACC tournament won't be easy, but we got a few games left to do it.
Are they not letting everyone into that thing now? Is that how that goes?
I mean, it's pretty large.
I don't like
clocking
that.
18 teams these days.
Is that a bad take from me? I think everyone should be allowed in.
Just do a first round of play-ins. Like, is the 13th ACC team any better than the 18th ACC team? Obviously, there's levels to this. So I'm with you. I say play it in wherever, and then just arrive at the site where everybody plays. So I've seen a lot of those tournaments like that over the years. You get an 8-9 play-in or an 11-12 play-in, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Let's stick with college, but to the NFL draft. There's a lot of interesting reports going around right now. I'll just start with the top of the draft, Mike. With what we're hearing around the Tennessee Titans at this moment, are you expecting this team to draft? I've never seen this market before. You've been working the NFL draft as long as anybody here, at SportsGrid. They're actually posting the who will draft first market, Tennessee's a favorite. I don't feel like minus 280 is actually that strong for the team holding the pick.
I think that's fair to say that it's not as strong as it should be. I think we're hearing a lot regarding what they're going to do with it. Mike Borgonzi, their GM, was just on, he's doing the rounds at the combine right now. By the way, am I a sick individual to say that I like NFL offseason as much as the regular season? I don't know. I just feel like I might be, but I don't care. I do love it. Borgonzi's making the rounds right now. He's saying he thinks he'll need the entire process to go through and see who they're going to pick. Obviously, it's the right thing to say in order to help him bolster a potential trade market. I think really, Kev, if they had their druthers, they would trade the pick if they could get a haul for it. Yeah. Is part of that they are being angled away from Shedeur and they don't know if Cam Ward is a future superstar? I think these are all fair questions to ask. And is Shedeur even that elite level? Both of these players would be ranked behind the first several quarterbacks in the draft last year if you're putting them all into one pool. Doesn't mean I'm denigrating these players in any way. I just think that that has to be taken into account versus next year's. The Titans need a lot, Kev. Unfortunately for myself and Joe Rainieri, it was great to host in the 1 o'clock window. We saw a lot of Titans football, a lot. I watched them every week. They were the worst team in the league. They earned that number 1 pick. Heavily penalized team, terrible quarterback play, and there was nothing really to rely on. Their defensive line up front, Jeffrey Simmons gets a lot of credit, and they should. There's some talent there, Harold Landry there as well, but they just need so much. And there's no way they're going to fix this team by drafting a quarterback now. Whoever they draft, if it's a quarterback, would get beaten up so badly, and I don't know any way that they can keep the pressure off of him for the next couple of years. I think you'd be wasting the quarterback by putting him on a team that needs this much help.
Yeah, I agree fully. I think far too often in the NFL, teams go, oof, we're terrible. We have the first pick, though. We got to take quarterback. I don't think that's true. Now, people will only accept Tennessee not taking quarterback if they trade out. Where I'm even more extreme is I actually don't care if they sit there and take Hunter or Abdul Carter. I take the best player. If you get a great, return, okay. But Mike and I have a lot of conversations on and off air about team building and things like that. But my follow-up question, Mike, because I think what might be more important than is, let's say it's not going to be a minus 280 Tennessee Titans drafting first overall. Where does your eye go to? Who feels like the team that is going to be looking to trade up and draft, assuming quarterback, in that first spot?
I think those next 3 teams on the board are the most likely. I think if the Raiders really decide that Shedeur is their guy, or Cam Ward, I think they're going to be the ones that are willing to move up to do it. They are historically a risky team. Tom Brady is calling the shots there. They have a very stable head coaching situation now, and they have a great offensive coordinator to work with somebody young. They didn't put this coaching staff together to let's just kind of build this thing from the ground up over the next few years. They want to make an impact. They want a stable force there, but they want to make an impact. They're trying to change it over as quickly as they can. There are other teams that have been able to ascend quickly by putting the right pieces together. They have a few superstars on the team. They just don't have any depth. And I don't think the way that Antonio Pierce was trying to play was going to be a winnable war in that division in this conference.
I think that the Raiders and Giants both make a lot of sense in this market. I think they both make a lot of sense in the Stafford market, which we are going to get into with Mike here in just a bit. But I want to stick on the Giants for a second because I feel as if there are some, spots that you can find on Twitter wondering, has the Giants given Shedeur Sanders somewhat of a promise? We see that way more in the NBA, I feel, than the NFL. But you kind of, listen, you're going to be our guy. What I would say is, Mike, if that is the case, the Giants would be foolish to then say, Shedeur, you're our guy. This is how we've turned this franchise around. and then sit at 3 and hope he lasts with the first and 2 picks coming off the board.
Totally agree. Anybody that feels like Shedeur is their guy. And there's a lot of components that you have to factor in here, right? Yes, he may have been ranked poorly versus ranked lower if you're putting the last 2 classes together. But it does not mean that he can't be a franchise quarterback for someone. And if you are that team that is willing to take that chance, it doesn't matter where you have him ranked, the quarterback is going to shoot up draft boards, because that is the one thing that if you need positional value, all of that kind of stuff goes out the window, Kev. You have to draft the quarterback now if you need it. The Giants do need a lot of help. That's the problem for Dable, is that, yes, he'll have a quarterback, but this team still really stinks around them. The Giants do not have a lot of talent. They have missed on a lot of early draft picks under Joe Shane. And the same dynamic we were talking about with Tennessee, I don't know that the Giants are that much better off. It's a stable organization, but it has not been a successful one. At least it's perceived to be a stable organization. They've been terrible for a decade. Terrible. Just as bad as the Jets.
The Giants, and maybe I am looking this, the offseason, occasionally you can start to like teams more than you should. There's elements of this roster that I'm like Neighbors is a star. Dexter Lawrence is incredible. The offensive line, you at least say, okay, Andrew Thomas is my left tackle, but there's certainly a lot of other things they need to figure out. We'll talk more about the Giants quarterback situation with Mike next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are live with you right here on SportsGrid. It is game time decisions early. Duke is scoring, Miami's not. No surprise. Providence hanging with Marquette. Georgia scoring every possession against Florida. Some of the early returns, updated from the Celtics-Raptors game. Out of nowhere, that starting lineup did not include Kristaps Porzingis. People will not be very pleased about that, I am sure. We are here with Mike Blewett, though, on this Tuesday night because the NFL offseason, and I agree with Mike, I love off seasons. You know, if you said, hey, pick, you can only cover off season or in season, call me crazy. Call me, I'd probably see you at the draft and not at the Super Bowl. But luckily, I get to do both. Look, the Stafford news is one that you don't see coming. And I think a lot of people, Mike and I just talked during the break, yeah, what is Stafford doing here? If you solely look at it from, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, this is wild. If you look at it from what I'm seeing now, Mike, the Rams have zero interest in giving Stafford $50+ million annually, which is the number that franchise quarterbacks are making. This kind of feels pretty simple. And I think the relationship is done. I am at the point now I would be very surprised if Matthew Stafford was back with the Rams. Where are you at on this situation?
I think when you are a team like the Rams that is clearly made a move towards jettisoning at least one veteran in Cooper Kupp, and then the talks clearly haven't come together on his extension, and then they tell you to go seek a trade so you can see what the market value is. That's not a move to like, why don't you establish the market value and then come back to us? That's what you're saying publicly, but that's not what that means. That means like, go find a better deal somewhere else. We're not willing to get that for you. We're not going to pay you what Dak Prescott makes, whatever the justification is. The Rams have been a bold team. Like you said before the break, they didn't have a first-round pick for 7 years, and they won a Super Bowl. They are happy to load up on assets. They played a little bit of a very top-heavy team when they won that Super Bowl, and it worked out for them. Now, we don't know exactly what Stafford is asking for, but he is I believe, going to be in his age 37 season. He has remained remarkably upright to this point in his career, but he has suffered a lot of injuries over time. Is he going to age in the same way that some other guys have? Is he going to suffer breakdowns like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers have? And when you have a tab of upwards of $60 million, I understand why the Rams are considering a decision like that. So I'm with you. I think it's unlikely that he comes back. And what are those landing spots? When you start talking about teams like the Raiders and the Giants, it seems like a fun fit at first, but does it really transform their team? Should they be paying a quarterback $60 million when they're not particularly close to challenging for a championship of any kind, and perhaps not even a divisional title? Do they even make the playoffs by adding Matt Stafford? It's a fair question to ask. As good as he is, he can't cure an entire roster deficit.
No, I don't think you're wrong about that, right? I'm not. So I don't know. My current feeling is he ends up with the Raiders. I could be off with that. Maybe the Giants are obvious. The brother-in-law connection. We've heard that. It seems. I don't love bringing this stuff up, but when Peter Schrager, one of the most respected and plugged-in reporters, brings up his wife's name and children as a factor in living situation of how this is going to play out, like, okay, if her brother being hired by the Giants is a part of the dominoes that's falling here, then maybe the Giants are the obvious answer, right? What I would say is, Mike, if he ended up with the Vegas Raiders, how much different are the Raiders' expectations than they were with the Rams coming into this season? I mean, not apples to apples, but like the Rams were supposed to be a team that were fighting for a wild card spot. They ended up winning the division, down year for the Niners, right? They win a playoff game. That's great, but like I don't know if the Rams situation for Stafford specifically is as glorious as maybe some are making it out to be. Maybe I'm off base for you.
Rams gave Philly their toughest battle all during the playoffs, all during the last 6 weeks of the season. So
that's true.
They were a pretty tough team. In terms of what Stafford, how does he transform the Raiders? Now, the Raiders are going through a really unique overhaul with a Pete Carroll, Kelly, Stafford triumvirate that could really operate in offense extremely well, right? They have Jacoby Myers there. They have an incredible tight end in Bowers, an incredible option there. And I do think that they could take the offense to another level immediately. But like I said earlier, they would still be the fourth team in that division. Would you bump them up over the Broncos? I wouldn't. The Broncos defense is better. They have an all-time head coach as well. So I just don't know it's transformative enough. Now, with the Raiders having Pete Carroll at his advanced age and Matt Stafford at the advanced age for a quarterback, do you just try to make a 3-year run here? And if it doesn't work, all right, we'll blow it up and start all over again. That would be an interesting dynamic to try. Can you get lower free agents in there for the next 2 years and take like a mini run at it as opposed to blowing the whole thing up and starting over again, which probably wouldn't sit well with somebody like Max Crosby, who's getting paid very well, but he's going into his 7th season. So he's not exactly a young player anymore. He's officially a veteran. I think those are all things you have to weigh if Matt Stafford lands at a place like Vegas. In terms of the family connections with the Giants and that in general, I think a lot of that stuff gets rumored, and it is a factor, but I don't ever think it becomes a major factor. There were so many J.J. Watt to the Steelers rumors because his brothers played there, and it just didn't work. They didn't have the money. It doesn't work out. You're going where the money is when you have 3 years left in your career.
Excellent point. The counter I'd offer up, maybe it's not a perfect one. It feels like every time someone in college hires someone's uncle, that kid ends up committing there. But maybe it's a little different.
In hoops every time.
It really is flawless in hoops. We'll be back with Mike after this.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here, and it is Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you guys here on this Tuesday night. We've got Mike Blewett here as well. And, Mike, we're talking some NFL headlines. We'll get back to the quarterback stuff. But we did see today momentum, I think, that Travis Kelce will be returning for at least one more year, maybe a final year with the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, we're at the Combine, a lot of chatter. Brett Veach, the Chiefs GM, said, quote, "We left it as it is. He'd be back, and we're excited to get him back and get him going." People took that as he's definitively back. I guess he is. How do you feel about Kelce heading into next season? I mean, is this still the... I don't know. I guess he's not the guy. He hasn't been the guy in the regular season for 2 years now, probably.
I think what we saw in 2024 is probably a game plan for 2025 where you are managing the regular season to some extent for him to break out in important games and in the playoffs. We obviously saw a huge game from him during the playoffs, not each week. And it's okay that he's not what he once was. It's difficult to compare yourself to your previous Hall of Fame self. As you get older, it's not like you're going to be playing at the highest level and then walk away. It's atypical for NFL players. So I think it's good they're leaving the contract as is. It's the last year of the deal. The guy's made a ton of money off the field, and obviously he's got a lot of other interests, a very famous, significant other. But I think he wants to give it one more shot. I don't know that they are a lock to run it back in the AFC, but I think he'll be back if I had to guess. But to your point, guys can change their minds. It's not a lock until he says it is.
There was a report today, by the way. I don't know. Maybe I'm foolish to bring this up, but the validity seemed to be more than zero that Gronk is considering returning to the NFL. Did you see this at all?
That would be kind of wild to me.
Yeah, they're shouting at me in the back that it's not true, but I don't know. Smoke fire?
I don't see it. I think he's got a great gig with Fox. I think he's seeing all of his friends now are retired, and Edelman and Brady. I think he's living a good life. That would be a mistake, but it's his life.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, let me go back to the quarterback stuff. So let's just say Stafford is gone, right? The Rams need to figure out the quarterback situation. I said this, a few weeks ago. I feel like this could grow to the consensus. We saw a little bit of reporting out of New York that it's on the board. I think Rodgers walks in and plays for that team really at any number. He would have to be so excited to get the chance. I mean, again, the success we can debate, but I feel like Rodgers would play on the minimum if that's what they really, really asked him to do, to be with Puka Nacua and Sean McVay and probably bring Devontae Adams along for the ride.
Why? Obviously, price is a factor.
Yeah.
But just straight up, is Matt Stafford better than Aaron Rodgers right now? Yeah, I think so. So you're downgrading your football team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend the money elsewhere and move it around, but you're losing Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, and think Aaron Rodgers is going to come in and make the team better. I don't think that. They have some really good young defensive players, which are helpful. Are you going to go on a free agency spree? That's been atypical for the Rams to do, but perhaps they can do it. I think they're building a good, interesting young core on defense. Nacua is obviously really good as well. They've been trying to fortify the offensive line for the last few years. It would be a strange move to swap out Stafford for Rodgers, but it's clear, as you stated, that they cannot come to an agreement on Stafford's future with the team. So I think you look at all options. I don't know that Aaron Rodgers has a lot left, but that would be one. I don't know where else they'd go looking. I think there's an also, too, Kev, while there's the quarterback class is probably not respected, there is an interesting pack of veteran QBs coming into the draft, like Tyler Shuck, Dylan Gabriel, Kyle McCord, Will Howard, guys that have a lot of starts that could be interesting when working with somebody the caliber of Sean McVay.
I think it's a great point. I think if you're the Rams, if the Rams in that front office go, look, we're not likely going to win a Super Bowl with Stafford, what we do know is we don't want to commit big money to him for a few more years, we can get Rodgers on the cheap, draft a quarterback within the first 3 rounds, try and set that kid up for the future. I could see that being on the vision board. Mike Blewett, always love getting the chance to talk some ball with you. It's the offseason, baby, so we'll be doing it plenty here on Game Time Decisions. We'll be right back on SportsGrid.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
You know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I mean, it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's quickly fly through anything that has not started just yet, which includes my favorite NBA side of the night, or actually my only. I just wanted to do this more. I've been tweeting them out. It's been going well. Sometimes when things like this, get downhill, you hope it continues. I'm on Orlando, catching 8. It's down to 6.5. Let's get your updated numbers here. Whoa. What happened? Oh, Garland out, confirmed. Certainly thought that could be possible. I guess the books weren't banking on that, though. That's considerable. I'm not saying I wouldn't bet anymore, but you've missed the best of the number. Also, I assume you bet it earlier, right? I mean, the game tips off in like 6 minutes, but I am on Orlando plus 8. I'm on the Pelicans and the Spurs over 239.5. It's kind of a buy low spot. The big game tonight, it's Lakers Maverick. So I'm on this LeBron double-double. I feel good about it. LeBron with his lowest 2-game assist total, 9 in the last 2 games combined. It's not that he hasn't been passing. Well, maybe not a ton in the Portland game. No Luka scored 40. He was passing against Denver. Guys weren't knocking too many shots down off of his passes. I think that bounces back tonight. I think LeBron is live for a triple-double. Played it at a 5-1 price, actually, on a free bet. I played some alt over 19.5 rebounds plus assists. I like LeBron James tonight to kind of stuff the stat sheet. I'm not as confident in his scoring. I'm actually struggling. The guys tonight whose scoring I'm more interested in is Austin Reeves and then Kyrie Irving. Those are the more interesting numbers for me tonight. Luka Doncic is where I think everybody is looking at. And this is kind of really simple for me. If you've been betting Luka since he's become a Laker, you can't look at tonight and not be like, whoa, what happened here? You feel as if it's hard to tell. Are you paying the price on Luka because of the great game against Denver or because of the opponent? I think it is more the game against Denver because some of these lines, because they've been so excited to post them, were out beforehand. Against the Mavericks, the prop against the Nuggets was 25.5. 30.5. We moved it 5 points. That's a ton. That is a ton. The assist number, right? We've seen the juice move quite a bit. Those 7.5. The rebound number, 6.5, 6.5, 9.5 tonight. Whoa! Let's go! Whoa! What's happening here? Right? These numbers are shooting up on Luka. I can't get there. I'm not interested. No, these are normal Luka Doncic numbers. So I don't want to act like they are atrocious, but if they were playing the Suns, would it be 29.5? 8.5 boards. 7.5 minus 110 on the assist instead of minus 140. That all makes the difference. So I think for me, I am going to pull back. I don't really want to throw Luka into anything tonight. Like, all right, he's going to at least get 25. But it's minus 350 for that. I'm good. I want to grab LeBron rebounds, assists. I think Kyrie scores. I think Austin Reeves scores a little bit. His numbers, Austin Reeves' numbers look very low. I think because of how much they needed to assign to Luka, right? Austin Reeves' prop within this basketball game. Let me just find it quickly. Excuse me. 17.5. What's that about? How does that make any sense? Because Luka showed up. All right, let's remove the game he got thrown out. With Luka, 22, 15, 23. Huh? Let's get Dave Sharapan in here. Consig, great to see you. And tonight, Lakers, Mavs, everybody's talking, everybody's betting. What I've said, and you'll know because you and I have talked about it a lot, but if you were betting Luka props against Utah, Charlotte, Denver, you look at the numbers tonight and you go, whoa, what happened here? Right? Yep. We rocketed everything up, and I think it's tough to figure out how much am I paying for what he did against Denver, and how much am I paying for them playing Dallas. I think you're paying double, and it feels like you're paying an absolute premium on any Luka overs if that's where people are looking to go.
Not as much as maybe the Yankees would go get the money of the cup, which was, again, just outstanding work yesterday. Had me in stitches today. That was so good. You're paying extra. I don't know if double, but you're paying extra. There's no question. It's the game of the night. It's the storyline of the night. It's the Lakers. It's the Mavericks coming back to the Lakers. So everything about the numbers pumped up. The book knows you're going to bet it. So you add a point or two to the total. I thought the 29.5 would have been a fair number. Does he score 30? That seems like the bet. Okay. And then you get a little extra, 31.5. Okay. The assist number is interesting, I think, because he might take that route. And I'm thinking like you with the Austin Reeves. I mean, that one I looked at earlier today. It might not be your man LeBron, but it might be Reeves. He does it anyway. That's what he averages. He's going to get over his average. I would think so. Mm-hmm. Now, does the game script come into play in this? Because the line is, 9.5 right now on the game?
Yeah.
The Lakers are supposed to win this one pretty easy, K-Dub. What if he don't play the allotted number of minutes that he's supposed to play according to these numbers?
And I would say, though, to that, and I think you and I I'm not running a late 9.5 with the Lakers. I think Dallas will be up for this game as well. Yeah. Here's something for you. If the Lakers actually win this game to the degree where the last 6 minutes we're watching Bronny play, then we're going to have way different conversations. Like if they're up 20 with 5 to go, then we're going to but Dave, I don't see that, right? I think this is a close game tonight.
I don't think so either. Yeah. They might pull away and cover the spread.
Yes.
They're not going to, it's not going to be a game like well, I mean, I don't even know how to explain what OKC did yesterday, where they're going to be up 20.
Now we're talking.
Fourth quarter. How about that? You heard it here yesterday. You were on the T-Wolves. I mean, plus the points.
But
that
here's
was
the funny
incredible
thing.
what happened yesterday.
All right, so let's rewind. Saturday, Lisi was tweeting out that he was on Oregon catching, 8.5, I think it was, maybe?
8.5
against Wisconsin.
Correct.
There was like 15 seconds left. Admittedly, I hadn't watched any of the game. They were down 3. I gave the little quote tweet, eyeballs, duck emoji. Happy for my guy. Game went to overtime. I go, oh, he's going to kill me. Right? Now we got to survive. So last night, I'm holding 12.5.
No.
We're down a gazillion, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, let me tune this. Let's just see if we can sneak a cover out. Next thing you know, it's like, whoa. I mean, these boys are going to cover this number. Who knows? Maybe they steal it in regulation. And then it went to overtime, and I tweeted out, oh, no. Because if there's one team that could cover 12.5 in OT, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I was like, goodness me, come on now, please. Let's not. And, look, it was obviously Minnesota won the game outright. But, man, that was a stunner. That was really a stunner. Because OKC clearly just fell asleep in a way you don't see teams do, any team, really.
No.
And Minnesota went into overtime. They're like, you know what, we're going to stick with the lineup. Ant didn't check in until there was like 2 minutes left in overtime.
Correct.
That was very surprising. Give Chris Finch credit. Press the right buttons.
Big statement game in a couple of ways. You know, the content space is already asking questions about, is OKC that team? And are they young? And that
it's
opened
tough.
the door to, look at Denver. Look what they're doing. Look at the Lakers. Look what they're doing. In a series against OKC, either one of those teams, even without home court, who do you make favored? All those discussions were brought up immediately this morning upon people waking up and going, they blew a 16-point lead. They were leading by 24 going into the quarter. How'd that happen?
Yeah, it's a great point. One we can get into a little bit more. We'll update you on the live board as well next on SportsGrid.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back right here on Game Time Decisions. Cleveland came out and treated Orlando like they were Mississippi Valley State. 8-0 run, but we battled back. It's 10-7, so now we got a game on our hands, and now we'll play. Now we'll play the rest of the way. Dave, I want to throw some. Well, let me update you guys quickly. Duke is laying 31.5 live. Look, man, this should be a sleepy spot.
No,
but this Miami team is, hardly a Division I basketball team, much less a power level team.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have to give them credit, Dave. Like, to win like they did in the Garden against a real team and show up to Miami and be putting it on them like this, I think is impressive. I don't know. How do you feel? I would have leaned Miami catching a gazillion tonight. I didn't bet them, but I would have leaned that way if he made me bet the side.
A little bit of buzz out here with the people that I know was a Duke play in the first half today. They couldn't wait to lay 12.5, 13. Like it was a done deal. They already knew, and a lot of times when you put up 24, you struggle in the book to get a bet on the dog. That one stayed up there. Nobody grabbed it. And sometimes that's very telling when nobody grabs it, because there's a lot of rhombuses and parallelograms that love a 24-point home dog, especially in a quote-unquote letdown spot. Listen, Duke's playing for the number one seed overall every time they take the court because they're getting – the ACC is terrible. Just facts. Like, it's not a good conference. It's not one of even close to what it was. It's below the SEC by far. It's below the Big 12, which, by the way, Houston took care of business again last night. I don't know if anybody was paying attention to that. I know you've been saying it. So Duke has to play this way every time they take the court. Them in the first half, like I said, that was the play, and it looks like they're going to cover 146 left, leading 43-24. So barring a little meltdown here, they should cover that.
Well, let me tell you this right now. Those bracketologies that have Florida in front of Houston, and I like Florida. Don't take this as that much, but I don't like Florida's played very well, but Georgia's put up half a century on them with time still ticking in that first half.
Hello.
So
Wow.
Some things are going to change. Some things are going to change. Some things are going to change. Yeah. Here,
Florida second half might be an in-game play. Me and Wetzel will address that because if the book flips that too much, they've been known to turn it on in the second half, but they're due to come back a little bit to the field. They got a couple hard games left too. So the SEC is a gauntlet. They're not getting all the number one seeds. Everybody can relax on that.
Mm-hmm.
I got Duke, I got Houston, and I got Auburn. Right now, I think kind of locked in as number one seeds. Florida's not the other one yet.
Yeah, I think for Florida, it's on the board. I think Florida-Bama is going to be big, and Bama's home for the game. And at this point, with what home court's worth, what is it, Bama minus 19.5? Goodness me. This stuff's crazy, man. No, truly, you got to imagine Bama at home, 6.5? Close in Florida?
Yeah, it's between 4 and 6. I don't think it's over 7. 7 might be the point. Some books may take a lead with that and say get a bet on Florida in that spot because, like you said, it might be ripe for Bama to win that game. So just off the top of my head, no injuries and things like that. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. Is Bama playing tonight? They are.
Yeah, Miss State, big game. Bama needs the roll here.
Game with juice.
It's too much. I almost want to bet the under. I might too.
Oh, what?
I might. It's crazy.
Are you?
Well, you know what it is? So I've talked about this countless times on this show. This Bama team is one of one. You look at where the offenses rank inside the top 10, the 10 fastest offenses. Only one other offense is inside the top 100. It's New Mexico at 68. Bama's third. So I think occasionally the books, like I've been waiting for the books to throw their hands up and be like, I don't know what you want. Just make it 200. I don't know what you want from me, right? That's what I've been waiting on.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happened a little bit tonight. Like, the fact that they opened the Kentucky game, and 177.5 was insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
They popped the same number as last time with 206 on the board. And they got beat on all those opens. Game closed 180.5, so they took some closing numbers back. But I'm just going off their last number, right? All I'm saying is 174.5. Miss State feels tall. Feels tall to me. No?
What's the Alabama team total?
Yeah,
Mid-80s?
175. Can we let this Bama team play the Pacers? Like, please, can we 91.5. Goodness
That's
me,
the team
91.5.
91.5. I was going to say, I think they scored 90. That's the number. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
come
high.
on, man.
Okay.
I don't know. I might sneak a dollar or two on the under. Just sneak it. We'll see.
All right.
Phew.
How about Tennessee on the road in LSU?
I took an LSU team total.
You took it under?
No, I took it over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tennessee's strong defensively.
The best in the country, some would say. That
Some
Tigers
would
group.
say.
That Tigers group's got something, I think, coming into the night. By the way, listen, I don't want to be a negative Nancy or anything. That stupid Nebraska game. Neither team last night touched 50. Like, that's CLV. I mean, goodness me. Forget the trash can. Back up the dump truck. Are you kidding me?
Man, oh, man.
151.5. Neither team touches 5-0. That wasn't right.
That's where I look over in the room and say, Walsh, which one of them made that number? We got to have it. We got to have a talk. I mean, that was way off. All right. Everybody remembers when they fall right around the number or on the number. They don't ask when you miss by 50. By 50.
You know you're in bad shape when the game hits halftime. You go, all right, we need overtime, and that might not be enough. Like, you usually root in overtime with like 10 minutes left, and you're like, oof. We were rooting in OT after the first shot went up. All right, we'll be right back with you here on GameTime. They could have played until right now.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and I really liked it that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I mean, it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, is that total resistance KW in the house? Kid's getting a little big over here. Hold on, I turned the mic out. I don't know what Dave is saying. We're trying to drop a couple pounds. Listen, here's the thing. I'll always be big no matter what.
It's time.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Use
but
those
you know
bands.
The turtleneck covers quite a lot, though. I'll tell you that. It's like, wow, this guy.
People are getting turned out with the turtleneck. I posted that clip of me and you talking about the Yankees and the beard.
Right.
And even right side got involved in it on the socials.
He did.
You know?
He did. You know what? Listen.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, not bad from him. He's on one right now, good old DRS. I'll give him some credit. Hey, let me show you something.
You never know where he's going to get you. You got to be careful when he gets involved.
Yeah, it's a great point. I want to shoot something your way, Dave. Our team found this. I actually was really surprised. Oh, disclaimer. Sorry, it's about the draft.
That's fine. Go ahead. I heard you and blew it. You covered it all.
But I was very surprised that they post.
What?
They're in the back debating who deserves credit. I love them all. They're so nuts, man. I wish I couldn't hear them, but this is whatever. Dave, I don't really remember that a market of who will draft first. Like usually we're always talking to people about, they that's why it says first overall pick, so they're protected from trades, this, that, and the third. Listen, we know sometimes these books like to be aggressive. I was pretty surprised to see that as a market. I'm curious what you think about that. And would you agree the team holding the pick being under minus 300 suggests they really think there's a chance they trade it?
Oh, without a doubt. If it was our book, K-Dub, you could come to the table all you want. You can bring Blewett. You could bring Lacey and all your other draft people, even Yarnell and Kofsky and whoever you want. We ain't putting this up. There ain't no chance of putting this up. No way, because somebody's going to come in and snipe us on the Jets at 12-1.
Yeah.
And then a day later, somebody's going to report a trade, and I'm going to go, how did we not know? I mean, seriously, how did we not know? This is too much the chance for me. I heard you say earlier, is this true, that if you could pick between covering in season or off season, and you only could pick one, off season would be minus 125. That would be the favorite. Are you serious now?
Good number. I think listen, I think another bet's minus 130. I do. It's fun. It's good. It's fun for me. Yeah. Again, I don't know, like that, and then we get in season. I'd be like,
combine guy? Do you like this combine coming up?
You know what I really like? Can I tell you what I really like?
Tell me.
I like a pro day on TV at around 2 p.m. and then listening to Donnie react to it is what I really like. Like, look, man, they were in a warehouse throwing the guys that they just pulled out of math class. Like, I'm not sure what we're watching here.
Yeah.
I tell you, man. But I'll tell you, NFL fever hasn't died down. We were setting over under Josh Allen interceptions next season. Was a pre-show talking point.
What was the number?
Whose number do you want?
I want them all.
I'll tell you, here's what happened.
Just give me the number. 6,
10. First number got posted. It got bet up so much we were told joke number, void all bets, new number. That's what we heard. First number got posted at 7.5 plus money to the over. And next thing, I meant 9.5. Void all bets.
Right.
Void all misprint. I went, I think 10.5 is a little more appropriate.
I think I know who set the 6 number. Forget about it. I mean, the guy.
He does too.
I know. There's no question. I know who said it. So
he does.
That immediately gets thrown out, and we go right to the double-digit number. Right? It's 10. We go right from 6 to 10 and get buried. It's one of those things. Listen, it is fun. Enjoy it. I'll be on vacation for the next week. I'll see you later. 6 to 10. Man.
All right, listen. Put him on the KBO. We're not. No, he needs time out. He needs time. I tell you what.
He goes right to the NASCAR with that.
The problem is, he would be so excited to book the KBO. Look, we're buttoning it up here. Don't forget, We're going to do Oklahoma State catching 10.5. LSU team total over 63.5. Pels Spurs over 239.5. And then Luke against the Mavericks. What do you think we're doing? LeBron double-double, LeBron triple-double, LeBron over 19.5 rebounds plus assists. What did you think? Turtleneck Tuesday. In-game live is next on Sports Grid.